moderates.
Yeah.
Where was turnout higher? New York, Virginia, or New Jersey?
That feels like an unfair question from a local to statewide election.
No,
Like, come on. We're talking about a mayor's race versus a governor's race. Like, that's a trick question.
That's not a trick question. It was higher in Virginia and New Jersey.
I mean, Mamdani's favorability rating is much higher than Cheryl's or Spanberger's. Like, you can pick a number and make this argument in either way.
I'll give you another example, okay? So since 2018, a central task has been to flip red congressional seats to blue, right? That's a central task in the Trump era. Crucial task. The House New Democrats have backed candidates and invested in candidates who flip 50 seats. Our Revolution, right, and Justice Democrats, two of the most prominent left-wing groups associated with Piker and Bernie and AOC, et cetera, have flipped literally zero.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero. Okay. Well, that tells you where voters are at. Voters are...
Dog, you have an unbelievable money cannon that you deploy at these races that you identify with, whereas groups like Our Revolution are so much pickier by design because they have an ideological slant. I don't know if what he is saying currently is correct either, but you're literally taking ownership over the entirety of the coffers of the DNC and then pairing that up against a fucking random group that doesn't even have a fucking fraction of the coffers of the DNC. You're literally talking about cushy seats.
Saying, I want the moderate candidate with the moderate vision. That's how they flip 50 seats. Is it true that there are deep left places in the United States where that you can make even more blue? Of course there are.
I don't even know exactly what the argument he's, what the data he's referencing here is, for the record. I don't even fucking know.
But that's not the central political challenge of our time. If you want to beat MAGA, is to make blue places bluer. It's to flip red.
But yeah, he's like referencing Zoran's turnout, for example. So you know he's making an indecent argument regardless.
Red places to blue. And the track record there is unequivocal. These folks have tried over and over and over since 2018. They only make blue places bluer. So I reject the premise of your question. It is true that Mamdani can be popular in a deep blue place. And it's also true that lots and lots of moderates can get elected in purple and red places. Those things are simultaneously true. They don't.
This is the last gasp of a dying movement. Neoliberalism is dying. People find this kind of politics to be repugnant. It's elitist. It's out of touch. It puts corporations and corporate interests first over the interests of the masses, right? And so he's basically presenting the last version of this argument, which is Zoran only works in New York. It doesn't work in purple districts. Okay, Maine and Michigan are very important races for that reason. That's why I keep saying it doesn't matter what fucking Graham Plattner's background is. Okay? Doesn't matter what Graham Plattner's background is. Doesn't matter what the fucking red flags are there. As far as like an argument against the way that these guys have represented the best possible electoralist method, Graham Plattner and Abdullah Syed are going to be the final nail in the coffin for this kind of pro-neoliberal, pro-corporate Democrat message from advancing. It's the last place that they can point to. Once that goes away, they're going to say, oh, why can't socialists win in Alabama? And guess what? We'll fucking win there too one day. But that's all this is. First, they say socialism doesn't win anywhere. Then when it starts winning in places like New York, they say, oh, it's just deep blue. That's why it's winning in New York. Once it starts winning in purple areas, they're going to say, why doesn't it win in deep red? And one day, we'll win in deep red places too.
Disprove each other.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think that particularly to your point about like the left coalitions not necessarily succeeding in red to blue places, I think that's unequivocally true. Their goal seems to be a little different. Their goal is to somehow change the Democratic Party, and the way that, you know, MAGA and Trump, others had a specific goal of changing the Republican Party through primaries, through pushing candidates that believe a specific vision. It seems like we're talking about kind of two different things.
But I mean, let's ask a question. If the existential threat politically of our time is MAGA and Trump, the job is to beat them, to win the White House, to flip the Senate, and to flip the House. That's the job. Why would you then try to make blue places bluer? That's a serious distraction if you believe that MAGA is an existential threat to our democracy and our way of life.
Donald Trump is...
Why? Why is that a serious distraction? Why? Why is that a serious distraction?
President right now. Not because of progressives, really. You know, like the existential threat of Donald Trump, that goal, Democrats failed it. Like, he won again. It did. So I'm saying, like, it doesn't seem to me that the question is about the...
By the way, here's the thing. Instead, unlike many of his counterparts in mainstream news and mainstream media, because of his job as a reporter that travels the entire country, has talked to these real moderate voters. So he knows that the third way argument is a failure. He has seen the third way argument be broadly represented to the masses and fail. He has heard from people in red districts and purple districts, moderate voters, what this guy would perceive as moderate voters, and he's heard from them that the Democratic Party is seen as an absolute fucking failure.
Existential threat of MAGA. It feels to me that really where the left and others are trying to do is say, in the rubble, that is this Donald Trump reality, how is the kind of Democratic Party moving forward? It actually seemed like you were kind of leaning in that question too, in terms of shaping the Democratic Party's future also. So I feel like this red to blue point is kind of a diversion from what you all are both doing, which is pushing the Democratic Party.
I agree with you, but I don't think it's a diversion at all, meaning this, instead. If you're offering a vision for the future of the Democratic Party, right, that vision cannot just be your dreams of what you want to have happen. It has to be grounded in political reality, right? Your vision has to have concrete proof that you can over and over and over again expand this deep blue formula to places that are red and purple. Because if you can't do that, all you're saying is we can hold a small slice of the country and make it even bluer, but we have no formula to actually flip the rest of the country. That's a non-starter as a political vision. That's where it connects, which is
we know this is a failure, dude. You own the Democratic Party, and therefore you own its failures. We know it failed in 2016 and also in 2024. You wouldn't be... Here's the thing. If this vision, the constant pivot to the center, had a real base of support and was broadly popular, you wouldn't have to dignify instead with a conversation about a fucking socialist Twitch streamer. It's that simple. Because guess what? We'd be living under Kamala Harris's first female presidency right now. If that vision was a success and it was objectively popular and it could defeat Trumpism, you wouldn't be going on fucking Vox.com debates over how wrong someone like myself is. You wouldn't even know who the fuck I am. Because your vision would have won. It would have proven without any doubt whatsoever to anyone who is knowledgeable on the issue, anyone with a crumb of interest in winning elections, that your style of politics had a real market, had a real audience, had a real legion of diehard supporters. And you wouldn't be wasting your time doing this shit. The reason why you're duking it out about a fucking Twitch streamer and failing to deliver a convincing message to Ested is because it's failed. The Democratic Party has failed over and over again.
Have great ideas. I agree with you. Great debate about left-wing ideas. But half of what you offer as a political movement has to be a formula for flipping the country your direction, and these guys have utterly failed at that.
We're going to talk to Piker, as we mentioned, about these controversial statements, about the distinction between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, and what he thinks about his responsibility to the audience. I think one thing that's important that we haven't really talked about is this is different than kind of a traditional media person or endorser because, you know, these Twitch streamers make a lot of money from controversy, and there's not really a gut check on accountability. So all I'm saying is we're going to ask about all that. Is there anything that you think he hasn't answered or is a question that you want to put in front of him from Third Way?
He has said repeatedly that he doesn't want to apologize for anything he says. He doesn't take it back. It's all taken out of context. We've heard him say that many times.
That's not true.
So again, same thing.
Listen, man, if you serve a fucking platter that has a diverse range of issues that you're representing as though it's like it bears significance on my current attitude or my current advocacy, while simultaneously peppering in actual shit that I have said recently and do believe and do stand by. Yeah, some of those things I'm not going to apologize for because there's nothing to apologize for, like the Israel-Hamas dynamic, right? But yes, of course, there's plenty of things that you've brought up in here that I have apologized for in the past.
Could go through all these quotes. I gave you the one on Miley.
Yep, we'll ask about that one.
Okay, how about this one? There is nothing more annoying to me than fucking first generation, second generation, third generation Asian motherfuckers who are dogs to white people. You are literally barking for white people. My question to Hasan Piker is...
Yeah, see, that's a great quote. I'm talking about minority groups that tokenize themselves deliberately to participate in white supremacist actions. What do you want me to say? You want me to fucking apologize for people that literally place themselves at the forefront of the anti-DEI, anti-affirmative action initiatives? Do you not feel even a sense of shame when you're talking to a black man too about this fucking, like it is out of context, I guess, in that circumstance. Out of context quote? Yeah. No, there is no standpoint epistemology. When you come to me with a fucking quote like that, I'm going to tell you what the quote is about. Now you can tell me if you disagree with it. Do you think that the anti-DEI initiatives were actually appropriate? Do you stand by that? Do you agree with the Trumpism and the MAGA movement on that front? Do you think it was good that a bunch of white supremacist organizations with a white supremacist goal of destroying what remains of a crumb of hope, a crumb of upwards mobility that we've offered to some black people if they're fortunate enough to receive it, that getting destroyed was good? Is that how you feel? You think the anti-DEI initiatives are solid? Yeah, I think it's fucking ridiculous. I don't give a shit if it's a white supremacist organization that puts at the forefront of their message a bunch of students that have been harmed by affirmative action and anti-DEI initiatives that happen to be Asian. Yes, they're using standpoint epistemology to advance a white supremacist agenda.
Is he ever going to apologize sincerely and profusely and go on an actual apology tour for the...
Why the fuck would I do that? Suck my dick, dumbass.
Dozens and dozens and dozens of bigoted, offensive, misogynistic things he said? Or is he just
let me constantly, oh my God, I'm so sorry for a litany of quotes that are mostly out of fucking context over the course of my fucking 13-year political commentary career. Oh my God. You think that's productive? Talk about a fucking distraction. God, this is the mighty falling out of favor, okay? This guy worked for presidents, okay? This guy and this institution was at the center of power in the Democratic Party, and now he has reduced himself to debating Twitch streamers, dude. It's over. Your movement is dead. It's done. We are coming. It's that simple. You can keep crying and behaving like a fucking baby over and over again. Be like, oh, it hurt my feelings. I heard some of his quotes and it was scary. But the real thing you fear is not necessarily the things that you heard about me that really frustrated you. The real thing you fear is that you're losing prominence. You're not even debating Twitch streamers. It's even worse. You're debating about Twitch streamers because you can't fucking talk to me directly either. Because I've already said it. Like, I'll talk to anybody at fucking Third Way. Anytime, any day. If they want to come on the broadcast and cry about my choice quotes, oh my God.
keep standing by all of them.
I think it's totally fair to ask about apology, about regret, about whether he stands by it. So we'll make sure to include those. I actually I'll have another couple I plan on asking about Hamas and the Israeli government. We'll put in front of him as well. Do you have anything else you want to make sure you mention? I got through my questions. We'll take these to him, but want to make sure you feel like you had your piece.
No, that was great. Very quick, actually, just because it's relevant to what just happened. Just to note at a practical level, in the California races, so Chakrabarti, who was AOC's former chief of staff, campaigned with Piker. He came in a distant third in that race. Tom Steyer went on Piker's stream. So I get it, but as a very practical...
Yeah, he also brought up Nithya Raman, but instead gave him the favorable edit. Yeah, they took out the Nithya Raman part. I know. He brought up Raman too, but by the time they had come, by the time they'd actually interviewed me, it turns out Nithya Raman had won over Spencer Pratt, and I talked about that extensively with Ested. So I'm a little sad that they edited that in his favor, okay? Because I know he brought that up because Ested brought it up to me, and at that point, Nithya Raman had won. And I even brought up the fact that this guy was actively celebrating a Republican like Spencer Pratt winning, or what he thought at the time was a victory over Nithya Raman, and it showed his priorities.
Practical matter, if you're a Democrat who wants to win, much less one who has some kind of high moral standards against bigotry and racism and misogyny, very unclear that as a practical matter, Piker gets you much of anything except driving away people who matter to building a big Democratic tent. I want to come back. Here's what we are asking of Democrats. Don't campaign with the guy. Don't platform him. Don't cozy up to him.
It's so funny that it's just not going to work either. Especially because, like, think about this man's peak success. Like, his goal is to not have me sit on stage with any of these fucking candidates, right? And what's hilarious about it is that even if every single candidate going forward from this day on was like, I hate Hasan, that wouldn't change what I'm doing even a little bit, okay? I don't like doing candidate interviews. I don't like it. I don't like doing candidate interviews at all. I don't like appearing alongside candidates. I mean, I caught the bug on the rally stuff a little bit. I think it's fun. But even then, I'm perfectly fine never doing another rally ever again. You want to know why? It's not great content. Nobody in my audience gives a shit about it. They don't even like it. They don't even watch it on the VODs. They don't like it when I'm doing it live. Okay? They don't. I don't do it because it's really good for me. I'm spending a shit ton of money out of pocket. Shouts out to the subscribers. Okay? It's bad content. If that was the reason why I was doing it, it's bad content. Doesn't do anything for me. I'm literally fucking burning money anytime I do this. I'm away from home. I'm away from my dog. I'm away from my friends and family. It fucks up my schedule. I don't do it because it helps me. I do it because it helps the candidates, you fucking idiot. And guess what? The candidates know that, which is precisely the reason why since this goddamn article came out, there's plenty of parts that he won't acknowledge. Adam Hamawi won, obviously. He won't ever fucking recognize that. And Abdul Sayed has surged into first place in the Democratic Party primaries in the Senate race in Michigan. That's the thing. Chris Rabb won as well against the Democratic Party machine. That's the beauty of it. He won't talk about the fucking victories because he's trying to actively try to get everyone to stop talking to me. The reality is, since that article came out, not only were there tremendous victories, but beyond that, every Democrat around the country has literally reached out, including centrist Democrats, ironically enough. That's right. Centrist motherfucking Democrats have reached out because they were like, oh my God, this guy clearly has a big audience and he's speaking for a cause that we need to hear from. He's speaking for causes that we need to actually gain more legitimacy and more prominence in.
I'll let you get the last word on that. Thank you, Jonathan, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Up next, what Hasan Piker has to say in response.